You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV Saturday Night Live After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's SNL After Show.
Bing is for doing, and we're doing another AFTERBUZZ After Show for Saturday Night Live for the November 10th episode, hosted by Anne Hathaway, musical guest Rihanna. Right?
Ding, ding.
Ding, ding. I'm your host, Matthew Kyle, and with me is Filup Molina.
Hello, I'm Filup Molina.
Hey, Filup Molina. How's it going? And also, we have a little special guest today, if you will, Justin
Anne Hathaway.
Speck.
Not as cool.
Not as cool.
But
Justin,
Just as cute.
Justin Speck, to get it up.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
Yeah, filling in for Steven Seidel, who was back east, dealing with Sandy and other things, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's real. He's
Yeah.
real.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Sandy or Steven?
Steven and Sandy.
They're both
And
real.
Anne Hathaway.
So
our
real.
lovely host.
She's a great host.
So real. You liked her?
Yeah, I think she is one of those reliable hosts I can just kind of always go to and just like nail it. Honestly, I mean, I'm gonna just jump in general ahead to like her overall grade. I thought she killed it. I thought she is an A+ host, and I think that's it. I think she was okay.
I agree. I think she's a great actress, and what she's not afraid to kind of go all out.
Be
and
silly.
Be silly, yeah, which is always kind of nice.
Bride Wars Anne Hathaway is what we're talking
Exactly.
about.
We're talking about Bride
As
Wars
opposed to
Anne
Rachel getting married Anne Hathaway.
Hathaway. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm not
Real
familiar with either Anne Hathaway. It's all
You
Devil Wears
need
Prada.
Xfinity. Somebody share your account. That's right. So, yeah, I thought she did a great job as well. She solid her third time. I didn't even realize it kind of snuck up on me. I was like, wow, three
Yeah, the
times
hat
already.
trick.
I didn't realize
Pulled
that.
it,
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know.
What a terrible episode to be in. No,
Really?
I just realized I was like, oh, I'm coming off so positive, and I don't want to mislead anyone. I'm usually pretty apologetic or rewarding.
Yeah, especially last week, I felt like I was the Debbie Downer for a Saturday Night Live term.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
And
I
you
think
were
it was a
the-
term before SNL, but yeah, this week, yeah, it just was not hitting for me, and I was just like, oh, you poor, sweet, mousy-looking girl. You could, you know, they should have written a better episode for you.
I think it was, for me, it was half good, half not great. There were sketches. The first half of the episode, I think I laughed a lot out loud, and then the second half, it just kind of
Waned a little
That's
bit.
the SNL formula, I think. That's what they kind of
Start off
go
strong
for.
and just
have you weeping by the end.
Once that
Sometimes-
candy-coated shell gets absorbed,
Yeah.
it's just all
Right.
disappointment and
Melts.
nasty mint.
Okay. All
That's a
right.
beautiful analogy.
That was
Yeah.
And
good.
metaphor, I think.
For Halloween.
But A+ you give her. A+.
No, you know what? I'll take the plus away just because there are some people who really deserve it. Sorry,
Okay.
sorry, Anne, you don't deserve that plus. But no, she is an A host. She's a
Okay.
91.
A 91.
91.
Yeah, a 91,
Nice. Feel the same with the letter grade?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, an
Gonna
A.
stick with that?
I would give her a 93.
Whoa.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, she's
All right.
she's not listening in case that's what you're thinking. All right.
Call me an Hathaway.
At 424-256-1729.
Wonderful. I would agree. I think, you know, she is solid. She's just solid around, and she really seems like she's having fun with it. And I think the more you're having fun with it, whether you do a great job, which she is capable of doing, honestly, but if you could not even pull that off, if you're having a lot of fun with it, really comes across, and that's what you want to see. You want to see people out of their element and enjoying themselves, and, you know, not afraid to be silly. It's kind of like when they're a little kid, you know, with a microphone singing to their teddy bears. You know, you want that kind of same vibe, you know?
Were you guys at all? I mean, I always feel awkward doing this with such an attractive host, where I start to, you start to see the pictures of them, and then you see different versions of them because they wear wigs and everything, and I start to kind of objectify their face a little bit. And like, I don't know. I felt like was everyone in the country going like her eyes are enormous, her nose is mousy, like start to like take her apart a little bit.
Well, it was easier for me not to do that because she started with short hair, and I wasn't a fan of the short hair look.
So it got better as it went.
So yeah, I was like, oh, she's in a wig, thank God. So I don't know, but I can understand what you're saying. But it's one of those things, the longer hair serves her better because she does have enormous
So
eyes.
it's not just people with short hair in general.
She looks like Jasmine from Aladdin.
When she has
With the
long
wig?
hair.
When
Sure, or with just mine. I'm just saying her eyes are so big. She's got
she
that
looks
look.
like a card. She's like a drawing.
A little bit, yeah, drawing.
Jasmine from Aladdin is Nassim Pedrad. You ever made that connection?
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which I think, well, let's just go real quick. Who do you think is the cutest girl in the cast right now? Because there are some good contenders in that category.
Let's see. Cecily is kind of like fun. Like I'd probably.
But she's got the interesting teeth.
That is the kindest way to put something horrible. Interesting teeth. Oh, what an interesting acne arrangement.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. Does she? I haven't noticed.
does.
Where is it? Which tooth?
It's her canines, both of them are like turned a little bit.
Cuspids.
It's not horrible. That would be my favorite. But do you have one?
Right now, honestly, Nassim has been kind of like really pulling it together. I'm such a dick for saying that she wasn't before, but like I've been really impressed lately. Yeah.
She's got my vote. Nassim's got my vote.
Nassim?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
2 Nassims. I got
Coolest
that.
name, maybe. All right, now just because we are this kind.
Yeah.
Of guy, cutest guy in the cast right now.
The cutest guy in the cast.
Taryn, I call it Taryn.
I would agree. Yeah.
I'd go with either Taryn or Jason Sudeikis.
I knew he was going to go for Jason. I could
Jason
tell.
Sudeikis has weird teeth too.
Does he really?
He has
Which
two.
ones?
He has 2 gaps between his canine and these ones.
I've never
Incisors.
noticed that.
Is that what you call it?
Lateral incisors.
I'm always just
Lateral
lost.
incisors. How do you know that?
Central
Dental.
lateral
Amazing.
cuspid bicuspid.
Well, back to our perfect teethed host. There's a mouthful.
Good segue too, by the way.
Thank you.
Well, she does have 68 teeth. I don't know if you noticed
She
that.
does, yeah.
Yeah.
And 9 eyes that mold into one, like Transformer
A
style.
beauty.
So, yeah, getting right into it. So we started with cold open, which was Romney on the balcony, getting our Politico out of the way.
Yeah, what was that?
You weren't a fan of the...
I think, was it a goodbye to Romney? That's kind of what it felt
I think
like
so.
a little
I think
bit.
that's what it was.
Yeah,
you
I think
know?
it was.
Yeah, I guess I loved the Taryn bit of just playing tag and Matt and Josh and they're all just Taryn. I like the, Donald Trump's doing that thing where he's racist.
That was a great
That was a
joke,
great
too,
line.
because he is doing that thing. I don't know what his
Yeah.
problem is, but he needs to
yeah,
get it together.
every
What's his
day.
deal?
Yeah, we got to come up with a name for that thing when you're racist.
Yeah,
and then,
improper Twitter use, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, and then there was another. Well, actually, yeah. Did you see Donald Trump was trying to like incite a riot onto the White House? He's like, we must march on the White House right
Yeah.
now. Which
Oh,
I think
wow,
might be
no,
like
I
a
didn't see
federal
This is
offense.
tyranny.
That's
And I was like, tyranny? What? Aren't you worth like $4 billion?
Yeah.
Aren't we supposed to like go against you?
Yeah.
1%ers. They're out of control.
Out of
Man.
control.
You know, when I was little, before Donald Trump was TV famous, and he was just like a name that of like the rich guy in America.
Right.
I used to have dreams that he would come to my like poor family and save us. And I used to like tell my mom like, "What if Donald Trump hears our story and he wants to save people?" And like now seeing who he actually is,
Right.
like
A guy who just sleeps with blonde women.
yeah,
and then-
publicly humiliate me. I'm sure he would.
Well, that's
Man.
a shame. But so Romney on the balcony, what did you think, Justin?
I thought it was all right. I thought it was. I mean, there were the whole milk thing. I thought was confusing.
Right, which I looked up
Mormon
because
thing?
yeah, well, Mormons can drink milk, so I don't know why they went milk because there's the Mormon code I actually looked up, which is called Words of Wisdom, and they're not supposed to drink caffeinated beverages, specifically tea and coffee. So no
Right.
caffeine.
Right.
Milk is fair game.
I think that might be the
So-
joke, though, a little bit, where it's like, so for someone who caffeine and alcohol is completely off limits, what's their, edgy
Oh, so
beverage?
he's just like kind of kicking it, but then he was hiding it. So that's why I was like, why are they so weird about the milk? That's why I thought it was like a little under it.
like that.
I figured it
But-
was just they're so strict about certain things that just to
Maybe.
take it to like a kind of a crazy level. Oh, they can't have milk either.
Father, I'm only 38.
Right. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Right.
Yeah, I like that joke. Taron Killam, I think, was the best in that
The
sketch.
best in this episode,
Yeah,
honestly. After
yeah.
Anne Hathaway, this is a very Taryn-centric episode, and he was doing a great job throughout. I'll talk about him later, but he very often was the funniest part of a sketch that he had the smallest part in. Yeah, so I don't know. I feel like this started the show on an awkward note, just kind of low energy and just kind of strange. I think if you were watching this as you were teaching a sketch class, maybe you'd be like, and this sketch, I have no idea what structure it's trying to have or format, but it was cute. Maybe it's just a nice goodbye. I did feel a little bit of the pangs. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the news a little bit. Jason Sudeikis, they're talking about, is he going to disappear at the half-season mark, especially now that Mitch Romney is going to become irrelevant now. You know,
and what that was, I think that was the original idea, because originally he was not coming back at all. He was leaving with Kristen Wiig and Andy Samberg, and they were all out the door. And then all of a sudden, last minute, he's coming back to kind of fulfill that political stature for Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like they probably just talked him into staying.
Right, but at the same
January.
time, he probably had as many appearances in this episode as anybody. Him and Cecily Strong were probably running even in like 4 pieces. So
if you read his interview with, I think it was the LA Times, and he did a couple more and a couple around town, he basically was saying, you know, I mean, it'd be fun to stick around if they gave me something new to work with, and it was kind of like a little bit of
what does that mean?
Like backdoor negotiations kind of happening there in the press, and so maybe they are like, okay, Jason, you know, anything you want, we'll try to give you. I don't know. I mean, I think he's a fantastic performer. I'd be ashamed to see him go, but
it's hard because Fred Armisen and Bill Hader are not really leads. They're very good, but they're really best usually when they're the second
supporting
fiddle.
roles, right?
Yeah, and then they have a little more room to be crazy and flexible and get really into their characters. And I always think their best stuff is when they're second fiddle. And Jason Sudeikis is probably the only veteran I can think of that can carry something kind of himself.
Right. Well, I mean, I think we all look at Taron as if he is a veteran now at this already, and we're thinking like he can be the next Jason very easily.
He's definitely the shining star. It seems like, at least of last night's episode.
Yeah, the beacon on the hill.
Yeah, and gotta get off the bench. So, and then obviously we went into the monologue, which I think last week I predicted I'd have to do 50 push-ups. Oh, it was me. Yeah, it was me. Thanks for reminding me. And
all you've said is that you had to do 50 push-ups. So
no. I said I would have to do 50 push-ups
if you were wrong.
They did not do a song in the opener, and guess what?
Hathaway, they did.
They did a song. One More Day from Les Miserables. They did a parody version of that.
Yeah.
And I mean, was not just a song, but they brought everybody in.
They had the whole cast.
Yeah, they had the whole cast.
Well, that's the showstopper. They got to bring the whole cast out there for that thing. If you've ever seen anyone do a parody of it, they pull janitors on stage or whatever. They get everybody. You know my feeling about songs, but for people who haven't heard me say this before, I think that it's very difficult to do a sketch with a song being the driving funny part, because it's very hard to laugh if you know that you're going to cover up the next line.
Right.
So I was purposely watching for that. You get a laugh pretty early on. I can't remember what it was. But then it doesn't get a lot of laughs, even though it does have a couple of jokes in there. Just because, you know, this song is going to keep moving, and you're not going to hear the joke that hopefully will be funnier than the one you just heard. But then also, it got pretty hard to understand toward the end. That's also a fault of that song. Is also very hard to understand. And just because I like doing it, go back and rewatch Jay Pharoah not know the words to the song that is written on cue cards in front of him.
I noticed that last night. He was just like mouthing nothing.
Yeah, that's what he normally does.
Well, I think with songs too, they have to sometimes, like the Kenan Thompson joke where he was like talking about voting this week.
Yeah.
They have to kind of extend those jokes out a little bit because you do laugh over the lyrics, and so you're gonna miss a little bit of it. So they kind of keep it going a little longer than it maybe should go in a song.
And it's tough when it's a song that's so well known that they can't really take liberties with it too much. And like, let's we have a live band, let's pause so that people hear this joke.
Right.
I mean, they did a little bit. Something I feel like they missed a boat on that joke is I thought it was hilarious that Kenan didn't realize that the election had already happened, but I thought they were going to take it the route of there was legitimate, like, this disenfranchised voters story where people were being called and told, remember, you have until Wednesday to vote, and so they stayed home and just didn't vote. And I thought that's what they were trying to call out there, where it's like, oh no, they called me and told me I don't have to, because that actually happens in our real world. A disgusting act.
Yeah, well, that's sad. But the bit overall is just... It was okay. I think a lot of the jokes, like even the election joke, obviously was a joke there, but it just wasn't really that particularly funny, even though I felt like I caught all the lyrics and understood what it was doing. But there's a lot of, I think the only joke that kind of stood out and they were really confident in and it worked was the Stefan thing. It was funny for her to see to do that for a second, and that was enjoyable. And then, the whole cast coming out, like you said.
Yeah, I wrote, Matt is going to hate this. There are not enough jokes for him.
There's not enough jokes. I mean, it's a comedy show, and you're doing a comedy song. Like, the whole thing should be jokes. Like, and I thought the setup was nice. We don't want to do anything, but just to say that we're gonna eat lots of chili, like, that's not that funny.
Yeah.
I'm curious who wrote the lyrics for the song, because I've heard a lot that the stars themselves, write their own monologue, and they don't really get a lot of input from the cast because they're busy on last week's episode. So I'm curious if Anne Hathaway herself wrote the lyrics for the song, and that's why maybe it wasn't as funny,
I'm sure she had a lot of input on it, but in general, I would say I agree that it feels like a layman wrote those lyrics.
Right.
I in no way, I'm going to preface this, feel like, hey, I'm better than the SNL writers, but I felt like this is an idea where it's so fun to parody the song that they should have draped it over something more interesting. For instance, maybe make that the Mitt Romney cold open, where he just wishes he had one more day of running or being in the national spotlight, or the SNL cast and writers feeling like, oh, we wish we had one more day of being able to make fun of someone so ridiculous as Mitt Romney or something. But just like, it's something more than just we don't feel like working on on Sunday.
And I'll leave it on this note. It just surprises me. Like, there are some other old faithfuls that you can do in the monologue. You can do the walk through the studio thing, which they love doing. Yeah. And you can also do the Q&A. When they've done those a bazillion times. And it's so funny to me that out of 6 episodes, 4 have been a song, okay? And last week was a stand-up routine, which when you have a comedian, he always does a stand-up routine, so there's no flexibility in that. So it just surprises me that you're going so heavy to one thing when you can do a Q&A or something else that's really simple to get across. But, I mean, I don't know if we can add anything more to
watch
beat
this
that.
as we talk about the rest of this episode, songs starting included, and think to yourself, this was a nice episode for a mom to watch with her daughter. I'm just kind of go like, they get us, sort of, and that's kind of how I felt about that song, and it was.
And then probably leading into the next sketch, the Girlfriends Talk Show, which was my favorite of the night by far.
A.D. Bryant was fantastic, and I was
amazing.
So excited to see her actually shine for a moment. And you know how we know that we haven't seen enough A.D. Bryant? I don't know if you can detect this. I, for the first time, heard her style of delivery. Like her comedic voice, I could actually hear it this time. Like, oh, that's her timing. That's her. That's kind of funny she is, and it's hilarious. I'm so excited for it. I thought it was very funny. Just this insecure character she was playing there.
It worked so well that I wouldn't be surprised if we see another girlfriend sketch. Yeah, like she blew it out of the park, or knocked it out of the park, and she.
No, knocked it out of the water. That's what you wanted to say.
Yes. And like you said, though, her comedic voice was just great. Like her timing and her delivery of those lines and everything was.
And that was all on her. I mean, there really wasn't much else going on, and I loved it because it was so simple. A lot of times I think they get too crazy on trying to do something esoteric or something real unique or just oddball. When simple can be great.
Maybe
it's just a simple setup. A girl is just like insecure, and her friend has a new best friend, and she's trying to deal with that. It's just, and that's what I found the beauty in, because then you can really fall back to the reality of your character, and they're playing it really real. They're kind of goofy characters in and of themselves, but it's just a real situation, and it's funny.
That's why I really liked exactly the simplicity I've told you before. It's like I want to be able to say what this sketch idea is in about 5 words or so. Could have been a hair heightened more toward the end, but I'd rather them go out quickly like they did, rather than like go way too long, have guests come on the show, and just I was happy they got out. We'll see if they ruin it next time, but I think it's coming back. I agree.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
I would hope it does, and I felt like foreshadowing. I thought this was Kate McKinnon's episode to steal and like rise above, as we all expect she will. And I think A.D. Bryant ended up doing it, kind of coming out of nowhere.
Well, where else do you think she did that? Just from this one performance?
Just from that one performance.
Wow.
Because I put that whole sketch on one character, and it was all her. And she pretty much had all the pressure to keep it moving, keep the rhythm, keep the pacing, keep the jokes, keep the tension. It's all on her.
Right. If you go back and you read the writing, it's not the funniest. Skirt warehouse is a funny phrase, but if the wrong person says it, it's not funny. You have a basement. It's not necessarily funny. She does have
but it's not about the joke. It's about the emotion.
Right.
Come on, Filup.
You know what it reminded me of was the Chris Farley show. Remember how insecure Chris Farley was? And he stumble over his words. It's what it reminded me of.
Some people said that they were hoping. This is when A.D. was announced to someone that they were going to add that she actually has a Farley element to her, and that in her improv she'd been very physical. So they're hoping we'd get to see that on the show.
Yeah, but we talked about that last week. There's been no physical comedy on this show this whole season, which is so rare.
Yeah, you're right.
Even somebody with no pratfall skills can fall through a table or get hit by sugar glass.
Right.
I don't know. You don't find it funny when there's a new dance craze called The Sloppy Swish, and it's all just
Right, the legend of the Mokiki.
yeah.
And the sloppy swish, which was, Keenan's kind of moment for the night in the pre-taped bit.
But again, I think Taryn.
Well, it was a Taryn-centric bit, obviously. Bizarre to all, but I know you fancy the bizarre.
No, not in this.
Really?
This
That's so
was-
funny because I did not hate it.
I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
It's the kind of thing where it's like, it's so weird that maybe some people like it, but to me it was just like, I didn't know what it was for such a long time before. He doesn't dance very quickly. Like you go through a
Yeah, you got 30 seconds at least, bare minimum.
That's true.
and then I guess I immediately, I mean, it's my fault, but I immediately recognized that Taryn's worn that wig before. So I was like, oh, is that a thing from before or whatever? And then the rest of the time I just was like, ugh, like who is trying to do a Sandberg here? And just like, I've got an idea that's just like our old digital shorts.
Right.
Yeah, it definitely felt like an old, or trying to be an old digital short. There's something about it that I liked though. I thought the song was kind of slightly
It's catchy. Yeah.
His whole just blank stare while doing the
Sloppy
dance.
swish.
Yeah.
The sloppy swish.
And the
Which
weird-
reminded me a lot of Psy's Gangnam Style.
Right.
In between like the rodeo move, he does that like side move.
Right, right.
And it just seemed like a more drunken version, you know?
Yeah, I feel. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and again, Anne Hathaway, bringing her all to that too, because she just,
Yeah.
the moment I'm thinking in particular is when he throws up that weird green goo,
Which
on
was
her.
at the moment that it lost me for a second.
Right.
And then the fact that it was like a goo and it made her weird,
Yeah,
I was like,
right.
okay, you got
Right.
me, I'm back.
Yeah, me.
You got me. Because I thought it was just going to end with him throwing up, and I was like, you guys never know how to end anything.
Yeah, and it would have been weak. And I think
So-
it did end kind of weak too, with the baby doing it at the camera. But it was just
Yeah, that was dumb, but
Yeah, I don't know if you guys get the sense that a lot of the Taryn ideas, where we have Taryn in the center and we just kind of see what it's gonna be funny because Taryn's in it. I feel like they're just maybe 3 a.m. in the writers' room or something, and Taryn's like, "Hey guys, look," and he's just like doing that or whatever, and they're like,
Right.
"That's a sketch, we got to do it."
But that's where a lot of things are born. That's where Fat Guy in a Little Coat with Chris Farley and David Spade came up, because he used to do it when David Spade was trying to write jokes at like 2 in the morning. And he'd be like, hey,
get
check this
bored.
out. And he'd put on David Spade's coat and do the Fat Guy in a Little Coat. And then they just end up putting it in the Tommy Boy movie.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's where creativity is
Yeah,
born.
no, I agree. It's just
You
it
know?
3 a.m.
didn't work for me.
But the sloppy swish, and I get that. It's
Yeah.
weird, and I think weird really gets to a fine-tunedness of subjectivity.
Right.
To each,
Sure.
to each person. When you get weird, it's just like, it's really got to connect with you in a firm way.
Yeah.
But
Speaking of connecting with you, do you guys watch Homeland?
I don't.
You don't.
don't.
You don't.
I
So
don't.
I do watch it. So
oh, that's so good, because I
want
want
to
to get
see
into that.
what you guys thought of this next sketch, the Homeland
Well,
parody.
before we get into that, and we're talking about connecting with people, we need people to connect with us on iTunes. That's what we need. We need all the comments and stuff. We really appreciate it. We take it to heart. We try to improve the show. So anything you can throw out, we always appreciate. And your compliments are well needed for my personal masculinity. And
his public masculinity is doing great.
Yeah. Philip told me to say that because it's for him. Because he's having a hard time.
Because he's having a heart attack.
Oh, no.
Man.
Currently.
Hit zap. If I only had that ability. But please check us out on iTunes and download away. And always check out the other great AfterBuzz shows. But anything you can do. And also on YouTube, comment
Yeah.
and rate us. We appreciate
Great
it.
AfterBuzz show is the Homeland.
That's
one
right.
they do a great recap every week. But yeah, this sketch, I was watching it. I was like, oh man, I'm really enjoying this. Wait, is anyone else in the country enjoying this right now?
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
And it's one of those things where, I can think back to when I was a kid and somebody tells a joke and you instantly laugh even though you don't completely understand it.
Right.
It's not that you're being fake, but it's just that you don't completely get it, but you understand it on some intrinsic level.
It's supposed to be funny.
And that was Homeland for me.
I thought it was funny, and I got, not having seen the show, I kind of understand what that show's about now.
Like now I can say I have seen the show
Right.
and I'm up there with you guys.
I thought they did a good job of appealing to people who haven't seen it and people who probably have seen it. You obviously, if you thought it was funny, then
Yeah, I mean,
they're
I thought it was
hitting
great. It was really spot on. Like, clearly the writers are in love with Homeland this season. We had a call out to Homeland last week too, which was one of the funniest lines last week. But I just wondered. I was like, is this landing for people who aren't familiar or who aren't getting premium cable shows right now?
There's things that I think of after the fact that I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if that's true to the extent they're talking about when Taron is doing his Damian Lewis impression about him having a really small mouth and it's hard for him to understand. And I was like, oh, it kind of makes me want to see the show just to see him walk in and be like, how small is that mouth?
Not the fact that it swept the Emmys. It won every category nominated.
It was just the minutia. They were making fun of all the minutia. And of course, Claire Danes is an excellent actress, and there's really nothing you can take away from her. But they were playing her like, a crazy, so-called life 15 years later, and she's still pulling her hair out over Jared Leto thing.
That's a fun mashup that somebody should do. Just like Intercut Homeland with like, she goes on from My So-Called Life to work for the CIA.
Right, yeah, just the same girl the whole way through,
Just emotional about a boy.
And in between, she worked as a shop girl and then dated Steve Martin,
Claire Danes fan in the house.
Claire Danes fan in the house. Yeah, I've seen one Claire Danes movie, and it's Shop Girl.
That's what I mean. If you went out of your way to go watch
Actually, I've seen two. I saw that.
And Juliet?
Yeah, when I was like in 6th or 7th grade with a bunch of women. It's awesome.
Way to go, mom's friends.
Yeah. They weren't mom's friends. They were my aunt's friends. Don't be weird. So you had Damian Lewis doing Tara, and obviously Anne Hathaway doing the Claire Danes, and then you had Bill Hader doing Mandy Patinkin.
Yeah, which is solid for everyone who knows a Mandy Patinkin. That's a good Mandy Patinkin.
Yeah, I haven't even seen the show, and I'd realized, that it was a good Mandy Patinkin, because he like Bill Hader again, like you were talking about. He's great as these kind of minor characters in the sketches.
And who was Keenan?
Keenan was Estes. I don't know the actor's name, but he's just the head of the CIA. It's essentially the black guy role, though.
Right.
Keenan was just playing a straight man. He wasn't really doing
exactly, because Keenan could have not even been a character in it, because all he was doing is Greek choir commentary on everybody else and pointing out their flaws.
Right.
Other than the fact that he never said anything to Mandy Patinkin, I thought at one point he would be like, "You never react to anything appropriately," and he was like, "Well, I think I do." Something.
Yeah. Mandy Patinkin.
Mandy Patinkin.
It's just a fun name.
It's yeah.
All right. Speaking of,
I thought he was a woman for a long time.
Because of the name?
Mandy Patinkin?
Yeah, I hear, because I never watched. He was on. Was it CSI or
Criminal Minds?
Criminal Minds.
Oh my God.
Thank you from the booth. She's a genius. She's
Mandy
wonderful.
Patinkin fan.
He was on Dead Like Me for a little while, wasn't he? I don't know if you guys watched that show.
I never watched any of these shows, so I never knew who he was. I just heard his name, and I was like, Mandy Patinkin. I was like, probably some hot chick.
Exactly. I used to watch 24, and there was Naked Mandy on there. She was just like a terrorist who was naked in one episode. Her name was Mandy, and you never see her again. And then when I read the name Mandy Patinkin initially, I was like, oh, cool, that hot chick. Get out of the way, old Jewish man.
I always knew who he was from Princess Bride. He was Inigo Montoya.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he really gained a lot of weight.
That's so sad.
Because he was kind of handsome back then, if I remember.
Yeah.
And he had that Jerry curl that was just like...
He still has it, but it grew into a beard, too.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no.
He just brought it down.
You could just climb that like rope in gym class.
What?
What? Let's move on.
All right.
We had the McDonald's firing sketch.
Meanest sketch of the year. It was just like, it got a little awkward, honestly, to watch.
Really, and that was Cecily Strong and Bobby Moynihan getting fired. And everybody else, again, I can't remember the last show I've seen where they had the whole cast in 2 bits. The whole cast was there almost doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if they lend them, like, I know that if you do sketch around town or, at home with your parents, either way, the best sketches a lot of times that make everyone happy is just one that gets the whole cast in there.
Sure.
Sometimes I wonder if,
But making use of them. Like, they were just extras.
Ideally, but I bet sometimes it's like, you know what, we have one sketch that's really funny, but it's just one person in it. They already have so much other stuff going on. This sketch uses the whole cast, these people who otherwise won't be in the episode or something, I bet sometimes, a little bit of the politics comes into play. We're like, let's just make them happy. Let's throw in that McDonald's sketch, get everyone in. Yeah.
And 3.5 minutes of anger ensue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woof, 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 you bitch, or whatever. It was like, very kind of awkward. It was partially funny, but this is the sketch I was talking about where Taron has the funniest moment, and he has 3 seconds of screen time where it's like, you dead behind the eyes, whatever, and just cuts to him, and it's just like,
and he had that No Country for Old Men, like Caesar haircut, sleeping to the sun.
Yeah, the Bieber. It was tough for me to watch a little bit though.
Yeah, not for me.
It didn't really work that well for me either. I felt like it went on a little too long because they had everybody. They had to pick
go through everybody. We're like, really? Yeah.
And then where I expected it to go was I thought they were going to pick on Anne Hathaway, and they don't. They just completely skip over her,
which was bizarre because she's the manager and she's the one who's kind of like putting everything off so this bit can continue for no reason. And they never deal with her. They deal with the guy that you don't even want them to make fun of. Like,
I think that's why they don't deal with her, because you don't want them to. I think the same feeling that I already got, where it was like insulting some people. If they had insulted Anne Hathaway's character, who's just like, guys, come on, whatever. If they'd started to insult her, they probably would have lost us completely. Of just like, okay, back off the kind old lady.
Right.
You know? But
I felt worse because she wasn't old. She just seemed like a 30-year-old kind of nerdy, like Velma character. And then they bring in this old guy who's sad, inviting people to his above-ground pool.
Yeah.
You've worked with this guy when you're in like the retail business. It's the guy who everybody on the staff is 22, and he's like 53, and he's like, oh, I'm going to night school though, and you're like, oh.
And to that sentence, whatever. The guy that
Clause.
played, there you go. The guy that played Carl was, I thought,
Tim Robinson.
That character was great. Tim Robinson.
Yeah.
They didn't. The audience didn't give it to him, but I did when he was just whatever he said. He was like, "Oh, you win some, you lose some."
Yeah, and he's just like that guy. Yeah.
And when they're like yelling at him about his faults, he's just like, And I was like, I've met that guy before. Like, it was perfect.
He's just so beaten down by life. He's just like, I have to block everything out because everything is negative.
Right.
Yeah, just
exactly.
hoping that he has the kids this weekend. That's all he's thinking about.
Yeah, exactly. His kids who are now 30 because he's like in his mid-50s.
Yeah.
So
But he
I don't know.
doesn't.
There's a lot to probably dislike and not a lot to like. And again, it's these kind of like urban characters, if you want to call them that. Kind of these hip hop culture characters that
is it me or is Cecily Strong bringing that more to the show? Because like we've been a while,
because they're really dated. That's my problem. I'm like, if you're gonna do like a hip hop character or something,
a hip cup.
Yeah, that's what we call it now.
Hip cup character.
You need to listen to more Frank Ocean. You're so dated. Anyways, more importantly, it just seems like a 1998 impression of like hip hop culture, where it's just like you got to do something a little bit more current.
And also a 1998 SNL sketch, that's just reminds me of that. Or you know what? Even no offense to them, but like a Mad TV sketch from that time. Remember the Nicole what's her face?
And she had long nails or something.
Yeah, Nicole Sullivan and the other one. They were just like two ghetto girls that were just ghetto or whatever.
Yeah, it just seems like such well-worn territory now. And then when you just kind of go there, that's when it just instantly loses me, because I don't think Bobby Moynihan's character is particularly well done, and neither do I think Cecily Strong's is, but they're identical.
Well, what would make it well done? Because I think they're fairly spot on to that joke, like to that idea.
Well, just something more current, something to make that character seem like of the times. Mm-hmm. And
well, it's like you never go to the ghetto anymore, though. That might still be of the times.
Well, maybe.
I'm kind of serious there, though.
But come on, they just look like the kind of like people who are going to wear baggy clothes and stuff like that, and that's not where we're at right now. We're doing big things.
What things?
I don't know. I just slipped into my hip hop culture, but I'm just talking for my people.
Yeah.
I'm from Colorado, so I know.
Which part?
Boulder.
Oh, you do kind of look like that or whatever.
Yeah, handsome and affluent. Thank you.
Yeah, and
like
probably
that.
a murderer.
Maybe.
Yeah.
One person got murdered there my whole childhood. Just because you know who it was.
Who?
John Bonet.
Ooh.
Yeah, but let's not end on that note.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the McDonald's thing.
Well, no, let's move on, please.
Okay, let's move on.
Actually, I missed this next part because my Windows 98 screensaver turned on, and I just couldn't see this next bit.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that right?
Yeah.
And what bit was that? I'm trying to think back.
I don't know. It was. It should have been Rihanna.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because that was the second funniest sketch of the night, I thought. And I thought that was beautiful, but that was musical guest Rihanna in her first song sing a ballad, Diamonds in the Sky.
Yeah, I think we should analyze this as a sketch.
Well, I think we should analyze it as a sketch.
So-
Obviously, they had the Windows 95 graphics, as we're talking about, projected on a green screen surrounding everybody, including the band's T-shirts.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was
Floating heads.
amazing,
weird.
and it looked exactly like a mall video kiosk thing that you'd shoot with your friends, and somebody gets to hold the guitar, and you're pissed.
I mean, you don't get to that level and not be like really good at what you do, I think. So I'm serious. I want to like analyze like what do we not understand? What was this actually about? Like there was a message in this. Someone put
there was a message?
There has to
All
have
right.
been, right?
Okay.
I remember there was a piece.
There was a peace sign, and the peace sign It flew around.
And it had those jagged edges that bad graphics have. Were there dolphins, or did I make that up?
Oh, there were dolphins. There were
Okay.
dolphins at one point.
I remember there was a repeated, like as if the only graphic they had for a while was a palm tree and a Roman column, and it just
And they
kept,
were kept going. And then they had that like tunnel where they did like the 3D tunnel, and it was
which
supposed
was
to be
like
like her.
Doom or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Wolfenstein.
Wolfenstein 3D tunnel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was that screensaver. That's what it was.
Yeah, they should have had the one with the toasters, the flying toasters at one point. That would have
Just
been
pipes are going around the screen.
I think I would have actually enjoyed it more if I had seen some of these recognizable screens.
great. You know what? That would have been
Was
so
that
much
the point?
better.
Was that the
would have been a great bit. Recognizable
Yeah,
screensavers.
SNL writers, what were you thinking? Why didn't you make it more clearly
You
a
know,
sketch?
I don't know. I think the Lady Gaga thing of the world, where it's just like, what can I do that's so weird that people are gonna think it's smart?
Right.
And I think maybe that's what it was.
I don't know. I love when.
But I don't know anybody who liked it.
No.
Do you know anybody who liked it?
Well, I started to genuinely. I was like,
really?
I love it when they do something a little bit different. Yeah, Kanye did a couple years back. Kanye like did a laser light show that was like amazing.
Right.
That
Yeah, I
night when he
remember
was
that.
sick. Yeah. And so I was like, oh, here it comes. Oh, what? What?
It's like immediate.
Yeah.
Oh, it's different. Oh, I don't like it.
Yeah. It's like I'm an old person.
I have to think the only thing more annoying than watching that on TV was having to stare at her performing on this green screen that's everywhere
know, that's what I was
for like
imagining.
4 minutes, and
Yeah.
everybody's just like, my eyes are being burned out by this harsh green.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, that was so
I don't know what they
bizarre.
were thinking there.
we just don't get it, guys.
And
No, we don't get it.
I don't remember any of the song because.
But suddenly you have an urge to buy like
Yeah, exactly.
I don't remember anything.
And then you're gonna buy it, and you see it's packed with Windows 98 included, and
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, sweet bonus! Oh, and the keys on the back, Rihanna, you shouldn't have."
It's one of those old CD-ROMs where you like get to install that screensaver when you buy the CD.
Exactly.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You made your dad
Yeah.
pay $30 for this stupid
Yeah.
Bart Simpson screensaver, and it doesn't work.
That's great.
It's for a Mac.
Right, and right when you put it in, the computer's like, "Is this an 8-track?" I don't even know if this works, but oh, Rihanna. She's
Riri.
cute though. I like her. You
Yeah,
know,
she's tiny.
and I usually like her song. I don't think I listen to the song. It's not a bad song or anything.
I couldn't hear it. I just
You
couldn't, like, there's too
couldn't
much
hear it
visual
laughing.
noise.
Over the
Yeah,
visual
you
noise
can't.
being blown at your face. Well, weekend update had its moments, I suppose.
Yeah, it was an average weekend update for me.
Yeah, we had 3 special guests on this weekend
Yeah.
update. Yeah. First of all is Obama. And let's get back into the little backstory from last
Actually,
week.
Yeah, I was. If you float around NBC.com as you're wont to do, you might stumble across last week. They did we did notice they went a little light on political sketches. I thought for SNL for the episode before the election. Turns out the original cold open was going to be a presidential address. President Obama. The joke was going to be basically, the FEMA response to Sandy, and then every couple of lines being like, we're going to get a lot of money out there. It's very important to get it, especially in Ohio. And then just kind of like holding on Ohio and just repeating Ohio again and again.
Okay.
And you just hear it get like increasingly more crickets enter the
Yeah.
room and start filling it as it just is the most awkward sketch. And just like Jay couldn't carry it. The joke wasn't that funny. And honestly, I think it was slightly, I'm not normally like this, but like a little insensitive. Like these are New Yorkers who have come into this room, and then it's just like, we're not giving you guys the money. We're going to give it to Ohio because they really need it. It also
Right.
rang not true because Obama did have a pretty good response to.
Right, and all the
to
Republicans,
songs.
Chris
Right.
Christie and others, were all excited and on board with his response.
Right,
so.
exactly. So it was just like, it was interesting to see that they just got it wrong and they pulled it, and that's why we got that other sign language interpreter sketch, which is,
Yeah.
I thought, a great replacement.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is our first sighting of a Barack Obama. You wouldn't see him in the cold open. I honestly feel like,
In weeks.
yeah, I honestly genuinely think they don't love it either. I think the writers aren't.
That's telling you.
infatuated
I
with
mean,
it.
if they loved it, Will Ferrell, George Bush, they love it. That was on every
time.
week.
Yeah.
And sometimes they opened with a different political sketch, and then they'd go to him later. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's popular and people love it, they are not ashamed to do something 1,000 times.
Right.
Watch Jay in the Good Nights. He says like goodbye to people in the same way where like you drove someone to a party where they knew everyone, and then like you're gonna take off early and go like sit in your car at Taco Bell or whatever and listen to Loveline. Like That's not that I've done that, but
Yeah, that's oddly specific,
Yeah.
Philip. Yeah.
but no, that's how it. If you, everyone's like kind of awkwardly shaking his hand and like, you did your best.
Right.
And then
What do you get at Taco Bell?
I don't go there.
Oh, see, I was gonna trick you. I was gonna get your mail, and then I was gonna be like,
Yeah.
oh, see, you do go there because I know you get the chalupa.
I know this move that it's been done to me before with the like, oh, do your parents know you're gay?
You're clever.
You've had training.
They're dead or something.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but not only that, follow Jay Farrow on Twitter. He's always performing at college campuses like crazy. He's at I think like Clemson tonight or some school tonight. I think he's honestly not around that much, and there's not a lot of love there. I don't want to stir up too much like fake drama, but I have some friends from Chicago where a lot of the writers are out of who are tangentially like connected to the show, and it's definitely removed, so don't take it as fact. But apparently, his first season on, they tried to give him a lot of interesting roles and like good opportunities. And then he went on a couple on their break. He went on a bunch of publicity interview stuff, and they were like, "Oh, you were doing a great job." And he's like, "Yeah, I just put a lot of work into it, and I'm really good with my impressions." And he just did not thank the writers at all, and it was entirely written pieces that he was getting credit for. And so apparently, when he came back, there is a little bit of like coldness between Jay and the writers, and I feel like it probably hasn't gone away since then. I think we're going to see. I don't think, here's a prediction long term, I don't think we're going to see Jay Farrow for the length of Obama's next term.
Do you think he'll be here next season?
Yes.
Okay.
I think they'll bring on somebody else. So there's a lot of great Obama impersonators. There's a lot of great performers. I think
he was trying something different this time. I think he was doing these like
He's doing a bubbly
Bill
thing,
Cosby inserts, where he's like, and he's making a face like, oh, the Jello pudding kind of thing.
He tries it in the cold open that they cut to, and you see him like seeing like, oh, people like it when I shimmy a little bit, and then so let me do it constantly, and the next time I appear.
Yeah, but at least he seemed calmer this time around. He seemed a little bit more comfortable for whatever reason. That's just kind of what I took.
To me, it's like when you, if you've seen the King's Speech, right, where he's like giving the speech and he's like always been super nervous, and then so he like is very decisive and slow, trying to keep it together and bounce into the next line or whatever. I wrote down staccato delivery for some of the jokes. If you watch some of the jokes, I can't remember what was supposed to be funny about this sketch, but he is going through it and he just is like delivering jokes like that, and it's like it's hard to watch.
Well, then we had the gay couple from Maine, two of the finest character performers. Not a lot there.
Not a lot there.
Well, why? Because what you said earlier, emotion, right? The joke is that these guys are like, your average guys from Maine. There's not a lot of like emotion here. They're just.
But they do
guys.
the gay couple from New Jersey, which is like the same thing,
Right.
except it doesn't have the same toughness to it.
Yeah,
So.
but I think it's the idea of like these guys are kind of low energy. They're not what you'd expect. I think you can't hold on to that very long.
Right.
Just low energy characters.
Totally, I agree. And
Yeah,
Drunk Uncle?
I felt the same way.
Yeah.
I thought it was it was like a big news thing, and they were like, we need to make a joke out of it, but they just didn't
There's
have enough
nothing there.
there.
Yeah.
They should have just
Yeah.
scrapped that.
But Drunk Uncle is great. Is the one like I'm not a big Bobby Moynihan fan. Love Drunk Uncle. I think it's his best thing by far. It's his 1, 2, and 3.
He does that really well. He does
Yeah.
Drunk really well.
Yeah.
But
Whoever-
you're looking off. Like
No, I'm wondering. Well, Drunk Uncle actually am a fan. I think everyone watches it like, don't f it up, don't ruin it, and then he doesn't. He pulls through. No, I was just wondering why you're not the biggest Bobby Moynihan fan. That's what I was processing.
Oh, just real quickly, I just don't think his character's the best. They're usually really broad and not very specific. Usually over the top in a way that he's not pointing to something particularly funny. When he plays a woman, I don't like it. His rap character, I think, is really old and dated. That's pretty much the basis of it. But the Drunk Uncle thing's great.
That's a lot of what you said about Keenan too. It sounds like. So
Yeah.
would you put them in the same boat?
But at least he tries to do characters and he has voices and stuff. Because Keenan just plays himself. So I just don't know if I'd like Keenan as a person.
In the 0 times I've met him, he's been awful.
Yeah, exactly. So, but Drunk Uncle's great, and I always enjoy him. And so I think, with that, there's something I really like that he does. I can say that.
This is great to put side by side for learning purposes with the gay couple from Maine. The emotional voyage that we go on with Drunk Uncle, when you think it's like losing steam a little bit on the anger, but then he just breaks down and he's so I didn't go to electoral college or whatever.
Yeah,
all that stuff,
was a good one.
where he's just starting to fall apart and get sad. Like it gives energy, it gives juice to it.
Right, and that's what I mean. People, do that when they go up through those like waves when they're drunk, which is I think what is so great about it, because it's like that Carl character from the McDonald's sketch. I've met that person where they're like angry about something and then they're sad and then they're singing.
And you're just like, you're so
all over
unstable
the place.
right now.
Yeah.
So, and then I think the next sketch was Ellen by Kate McKinnon. I thought this was Kate McKinnon's chance to be like, here I am. I'm going to nail it. And then the sketch just wasn't really there. I thought her impression was great. And if they kind of stuck to something or believed in something, because they threw out 3 different kind of things to kind of fill out the Ellen show, which is all stuff she does on a regular basis. But
just didn't have any cohesiveness.
it was just it was nothing was cohesive, and you're just like, oh, come on.
Do you guys watch Ellen at all?
I do.
The show you do?
I've seen episodes.
Yeah, so we recognize the references, right? Those 2 little girls are,
who've never been to school since then. Yeah, and they're always there.
It's great. Compare this sketch. Go back and watch the Homeland sketch. So why did the Homeland sketch work for you guys? You have a pretty decent understanding of, that lady's really crazy, and yet they give her a lot of responsibility. It's a pretty easy idea to kind of understand, even if you didn't watch the show.
But yeah, the specificity of it.
Exactly. It's very clear the comment that's being made. In Ellen, it was a laundry list of kind of references to make to the show. That said,
but they didn't seem to believe in any of it. Like they started with the dancing, and then I think watching it, you were like, oh, they could do more with this, but they're not doing it.
It was an audio thing though, too, right? Could you guys hear like half of the jokes in that first part?
Oh, I never felt like there was an audio issue.
Go back and watch and check maybe. The song that they were playing, I think there was a whole section before the Cecily sort of strong characters like keep dancing or whatever. I think she has an initial set of jokes where Ellen goes up next to her because they talk for a little bit and the song was really loud. I had to turn it down. You don't hear them say anything, and then you hear Kate McKinnon have a couple more lines, and you barely hear them. I think it was a technical mishap that led to we don't really see what's going on.
I'll have to recheck that out. But yeah, it seemed to me like just first watch, if it wasn't a technical mishap, that it was like, well, we got to do the dancing because she does the dancing, but we don't exactly believe in it. And then we got to do the couch and the interview, but we're not exactly thrilled about this. Yeah. And then we're going to do the scary video thing, and we like that, but it's like 5 seconds long.
Right.
And then we'll go to Sophia and Grace because that's cute, and that was a really fun bit too.
Did you? Or Ellen tweeted that she loved it. She thought it was hilarious, which obviously she,
Oh, that's Ellen. She's been through much more than an SNL sketch. We all know that.
But we should stop there for a second. Talk about Anne Hathaway's impression of Katie Holmes.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Great.
I think it's the second time we've seen it. Maybe. I think she did it last time.
I think so. Less exaggerated on the mouth. I'm just going off memory. But I think the mouth is great, and then she pushes it back. So that was just really fun.
Just nailed it. Honestly, that's a moment when I was watching her, and I was like, this is a host that I love. That's when she earned her A for me. I was like, you are at home with the cast. You feel like this could be a second home for you. I don't think any of us would freak out if we saw Anne Hathaway on the cast. Remember, Anne Hathaway, I think, was in the first version of the like Baby Hands character, the singer.
Oh, the Kristen Wiig,
yeah. I think she might have been in the first version of that or whatever. And it's just like she just fits into that cast so well.
Yeah, she's fun.
Yeah, and she's obviously very comfortable there. She's doing these impressions and acting.
And she really, and I think in the next bit, American Gothic, she really tried.
Yeah,
she tried really hard.
It was boring. Yeah. I mean, that's the only way to put it. I mean, it wasn't the worst thing, and they tried, but the beats were just, it was so predictable,
Yeah, that was my complaint.
You
know exactly where it's going, because everybody knows that painting, so you know what they're going to end up as.
Yeah. And that's fine. So the beats in between then have to be really strong and entertaining to at least keep you. And it was just like, oh, we're going to do something stupid. And then we're going to do something and then we're going to do something crazy stupid.
Yeah, the only moment that I found fun in that sketch was they're doing the back-to-back pose or whatever, where
that was
whatever,
good.
And they just hold it for a while. And I think it's to point out, like, I think you hear the audience start to react. I think we all realize, oh my God, we've seen that poster way too many times.
Yeah. And I thought that was, and again, I think maybe it was like we were talking about before with the Homeland. It's the specificity. That was the only beat in that was really specific to like one thing. A lot of it was like, oh, let's do something like when I'm stabbing you, and it was like this, you know.
But again, wasn't this a sketch where it's like the mom trying to connect with her daughter? Isn't this correct?
Right.
You know?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
like,
And really kind of playing it safe, especially
There's no
for
edge in this.
yeah, for the end of the show.
That's true.
So, but it was, wasn't the worst thing I could say. I've seen, much worse things in previous weeks. So that's why I felt like the episode held up better than previous, like Mountain Pass last week with Louis C.K., which was just like, which was so abysmal that I'm like angry that they made me watch it for 4 minutes. This, I was like, they tried, and I'm just gonna check my phone.
Yeah, it was a muted episode overall.
Yeah.
I think the highs weren't so high, the lows weren't that low.
And the weirdest thing I think about the episode is they finish with a commercial.
Yeah.
Fullerton, which they always play the commercial after the monologue.
I always feel like the commercials and anything pre-recorded video sketch is usually something they can toss around kind of if needed. Anytime there's like a weird editing thing there, I always figure something got cut or something ran long or something.
Yeah, kind of fun. But yeah, it was just kind of weird. I've never seen them
ended on a weird note.
Yeah, I've never seen them end on a commercial, and it wasn't bad. I thought it was.
Did you notice they so SNL does this cool thing with their videos where if you've ever watched a sketch show in person and they have like a video sketch and then they put that online later, a lot of times it loses the magic. It's like, why did I find that funny when I was in the audience? What SNL does is they keep the audience's laughter over the sound of the video. So that actually makes those videos work. On this one, I think there was a mishap with when they were doing that. I think we were getting for some of it the studio's sound for it. Listen again to the sketch, and it's very echoey at times, and it's just like, again, I get very technical, but I think a lot of times that causes you just not to laugh as much. So I was watching, and I was like, oh, this isn't landing so much. It sounds a little muffled.
You were an auditorial savant.
You got like the 7 points surround sound type of thing.
Speaking of being a savant, you know what we should do? Get into some predictions. Oh, yes. Our predictions for the upcoming week. Or in the near future. Of course, next week we have Jeremy Renner and Maroon 5.
Cool. Adam, what's his face?
Adam Levine.
Adam Levine in a sketch. I think we'll see an Adam Levine.
Okay, now you're going to steal my prediction. My prediction was that Adam Levine will not be not only in one sketch, but he will be in 2 sketches.
Ooh.
And one's going to be a voice parody. I'm really putting it out there.
Yeah, you're the $1 guy on Price is Right, by the way.
Yeah, I imagine you're like
2.
Yeah, I hate that when people do that on Price is Right. But predictions, Philip?
I'm going to kind of go for the obvious prediction here. And Jeremy Renner. Jeremy Renner's 2 big movies this summer were Born Legacy and The Avengers. The Avengers, I think, is going to be an easier sketch to do with the costumes and everything. Right. So I predict we're going to see an Avengers.
You don't think it's too dated?
It could be, but I don't know what else.
They might still do it, not even if it is too dated. But
I mean, it could be. They might not do it because it's old, but I don't know what else he's got. Can't think of anything that he's got coming up.
Yeah.
So he's on the show, kind of talking about movies he did before. I guess I don't know. I'm not really sure. And Born Legacy, I just don't think that would be a tough sketch to pull off, unless it's kind of like a MacGruber type thing.
Yeah, I think we'll see a tough guy sketch. I don't know if it'll be a specific
tough guy sketch.
Yeah,
That's all. You're not going to go out on a ledge, 50 push-ups for anything.
How about this? It won't be a musical opener?
Okay, I agree with that.
There you go.
Do you think it'll be a Q&A or a walk through a studio? You want to go there?
That's a lot. Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll put something online. Let's see, Q&A or walk through studio. It'll be... not Q&A. It'll be him standing there and like characters that he interacts with from.
Keep
from
coming.
The cast.
Okay, left stage, right stage thing.
Yeah.
Cool, Philip. Well, I appreciate it. Well, until next week. Let's hope for maybe a better show, in your opinion, Philip.
Cool. Yeah. If you hate all the things I'm talking about, you can hit me up on Twitter at Fimo Fimo, or if you need me to set up your surround sound so you can catch the things that I catch. Yeah.
Catch up with you.
I'm on Twitter as well. It's Yoda811. Star Wars nerd.
Nice. And you can always catch me at www.matthewkyle.com. You can always see what I'm up to, performing and otherwise, stand up and otherwise, and otherwise.
Cool.
We'll see you next week.
All right.
Mandy Patinkin.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AFTERBUZZTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AFTERBUZZ TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.